Our devotion on the epistle this week is again from Corinthians, this time 2 Corinthians. And here Paul's talking about this story from the Old Testament where Moses stood before God and God's glory shone on Moses, and it actually made his face radiate with a brightness. So that when Moses left God's presence and went back to the people couldn't even look at Moses because of the brightness that was on Moses' face. So Moses had to wear a veil over his face. It reminds me of wearing sunglasses, actually. Have you ever been outside and the sun was so bright, maybe in the snow or in the water, where the sun was so bright that you had to have something covering your eyes? Well, that's exactly what was going on here, that the people needed something to veil them from that brightness. And Paul talks about this spiritually to the Corinthians. He says that the law, that these things that cause sin and death in our lives, all of these evil things that reveal the brokenness of humanity, that has veiled us from seeing God's glory. That our sin, our disobedience of God's law, our experience of death, the consequences of sin, all of that veils us from seeing God's glory. But in faith, through Christ, by the power of the Holy Spirit, that veil is removed. And it's even removed right now. Even though we still suffer from sin and from sickness and from death, through faith in Jesus, we have these promises of forgiveness, of life, and salvation. And those promises sustain us right now, even though we still see death and darkness all around us. Because we know that Christ is coming again. We know that Christ will return and we will be with him forever. And when he returns, there'll be no more sin. There'll be no more death. There'll be no more darkness. We will see God face to face. We will see Christ face to face, his full brightness. So right now in faith, that veil has been removed from us and we live in freedom by the Spirit, even as we wait for Christ to return.